All right. I will be going through a PowerPoint via Google Slides. And I have videos embedded, so I may have to pause the recording and upload the videos separately within Blackboard. I haven't quite tested it out to see which way I'm going to do that yet. Um, so I'm going to be going through several chapters of information, but I'm really hitting the highlights since you were already supposed to have read. And I really just have videos throughout to kind of help bring some of the material to life. So we'll go ahead and get started here. All right, we're going to skip those. Okay. So, you are conducting a lot of small group activities on the different identity development models. The video and the small group activity does not include the sexual identity model. And I get that you're only working within one small group, so you're only working within one set of the identity models. But once all of those wikis are ready, I'm hoping that I can figure out a way to share those with the entire class so you'll have access to all the other small groups information. Um, so just to briefly cover the sexual identity model, since no group is covering that one, within your textbook, it talks about Cass's model of sexual identity, Troyden's model, the inclusive model of lesbian gay identity formation, and then the bisexual identity development model. And if you'll refer to page 49, there's a wonderful table that really just highlights kind of the major similarities and differences between these four models. It lists it by the four different stages and those names within all four of these, and then Cass's model being the only one that has stage 5 and stage 6. So that table does a really quick snapshot of allowing you to see some of those major differences. You'll see that a lot of them, kind of the major similarity, stage 1 is kind of just that um, awareness or realization that they are different, maybe feelings of unsettled. Within stage 2 is where, and depending on the stage, sometimes it's starting to commit, whereas others are really trying to, they're starting to feel incongruent and not really feeling settled. Within stage 3, um, for a lot of them, that is where there's some type of commitment or some type of acceptance of self within their sexual identity. Within stage 4 is mm, where they've really come into a place of normalcy and positive identity development, or they're starting to recognize how others are mistreating them or things like that. And then in Cass's model, stage 5 is where they start demonstrating strong commitment or strong pride. And then within stage 6, kind of full self integration. And so I highly recommend that you kind of refer back to this table. This is one of the main reasons I say keep this textbook if you can afford to, because as you have clients who may be presenting at different identity or different stages within their identity, it might be helpful for you to go back to some of these models and be like, oh, where do I think they are? And kind of utilize what you're doing within your small group as an example of a way to work with clients and a way to start conceptualizing them through these theoretical lenses. All right. So if we move on from chapter 2 all the way to chapter 17, this is where we bounce around a little bit in the textbook. But in chapter 17, first I like to just start off with, why is this important? Why are we talking about culture? And so we've already talked about Lehman his article on nonviolent communication. He does a phenomenal TED Talk that I would really like for us to watch really quickly. So I'm going to have to switch the tab over here.
I've been listening to all the different speakers today, and I realized I was the only Asian person on today. And even today, as I'm standing here, I was thinking of how many times in my life, going into corporate America and government agencies and educational institutions, how oftentimes I'd look out in the audience for someone who looked like me. How many of you know what I'm talking about by raise of hands? Yeah. And I was thinking that when I was growing up, by the way, my name is Lei Mun-Wah, and it means he who writes. And my parents took 2 months to find my name. But on the day that I was born, they wrote Gary. Now what I want you to notice is that I didn't laugh, but you did. Because for me, it's not funny at all. Because I often wondered, why? I think it was because my father, when he came to this country, was called Lei Hu-Wah, and his name was changed to Richard, because his country couldn't pronounce it. I think it was my first dosage of what it was like in a multicultural nation, that when it can't pronounce your name, or actually what I learned was, if it wasn't in English, it was not pronounceable. Unless, of course, you were French, Australian, or English. It was beautiful, the way it sounded. And today I think that that's part of what I want to talk about, is what I think it would take to change the world. I think it's being conscious and noticing that I didn't laugh when you did. And maybe even for you to ask me, why didn't you laugh? What was coming up for you? I love my name, Lei Mun-Wah.